you want to introduce yourself, Alex?
Yeah, I can do that. My name's Alex Bertram, and I'm a mining engineering senior here at UAF. I originally came from just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and moved up here in 2010. Been studying since then. I took last semester off. And now I'm just here trying to finish my program and do a fair amount of outdoors activities here in Fairbanks. Um, Pretty involved in the mining industry around here. So if you have any questions about any jobs or work, I'm sure we can help you with that. Other than that, that's pretty much what I do here at UAF.
I'm Kaz Alvarez, and I am an education major. I'm going to be hoping to be a teacher in second grade, ideally, when I'm a bigger person. So I'm also from Wasilla, Alaska, and I came up here because I wanted a school with a good community. And I've just been really involved with a lot of club activities since I got here, and just kind of feeling my way through my program. And I'm looking at doing my student internship year next year.
And I'm Ashley Strauk, and I'm a psychology major, education minor, and I'm going to graduate this spring, which is really cool. This is my 4th year at UAF, and I came up here from Anchorage in 2010. So I mostly came up here for the in-state tuition, but I found that I really love Fairbanks, and now I don't want to leave. So it's just an awesome community, and it's a nice size of a town, city. So I really love it here, and I work up here. I do tons of different extracurricular stuff. So if you have questions about like getting involved on campus, I'm pretty good go-to person for that. Yeah.
So are there any questions? Or we can start with campus life and name of traditions.
Looking at me.
Well,
Yeah.
there's so much to choose from on campus. I mean, we can do, like, there's outlets for everybody, whether if you're a music major, you're a theater major, if you're just interested in music and theater, there's so many opportunities to be part of a play, learn an instrument, and be part of one of the concerts on campus. And they just get really good attendance at those, and it's just great for people to recognize you as someone who performs there, and that's just a great like art outlet here.
Oh, we also have coming up in next weekend, I think, is the Festival of Native Arts.
Yeah.
Which is, I know Alex has gone to that before, and I volunteer at it every year. Super fun. You get groups from all over Alaska, and they come to do dance performances and music performances, and they sell tons of art. So there's a lot of cultural stuff that happens too.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to sort of keep your eyes open for it. And then we also at UAF have 3 major traditions, but we have a 4th tradition as well. And yeah, so we have Starvation Gulch, which happens in the fall, and that's basically it's a celebration of getting a ban on alcohol repealed on campus, and it's really cool because we have these huge bonfires down in one of our parking lots, and everybody goes down there and has barbecue food and hangs out. It's super fun.
And the great things about the bonfires is that they're usually mostly student made, and different clubs like will gather pallets to put them together. It's great.
So.
All right, we have a question. Would you say UAF offers a lot of opportunities outside of your major? Outside of class, I would say yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's plenty of things. The town is big enough, and it is basically, it seems like a college town when you get here because of the size and just the people that it's filled with. When you leave campus, everyone's still connected to the university. So there's plenty of work around the university as well as work on the university. There's plenty of student jobs and connections to be made. You can network really well in Fairbanks. Um, so there's a lot of good things about that.
Yeah, and I know with my program as an education major, there's like 5 of my classes where I get to go into a classroom and learn how to teach hands-on, and I get to participate. I get to design lesson plans and put them to work. And by the time I graduate, I've got about 100 hours of field work probably, just to behind under my belt.
Yeah, and then other than academic stuff too, we have a lot of different organizations on campus, and we have over 150 student clubs, I think. So it's just a huge amount. Like we have clubs all the way from Arctic Bronies and what's another funny one?
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who Club.
Ye old Doctor Who.
Ye old Doctor Who Club. All the way to academic clubs.
Mhm.
And we also have a couple of really great organizations. One is the LIVE program, and that's Leadership Involvement Volunteer Experience. And they basically do a lot of different service in the community, and they also do a lot of different training sessions and information sessions, different things you can get involved with learning about leadership. And we have Student Activities Office, which hosts big events. Like I think last weekend they had a pool party, just like really fun stuff. Especially for in the winter, there's always something going on with one of the offices or one of the clubs on campus. Right. So you're just basically never bored. So, yeah.
Our next question is, how is the education department? I want to study education, and I was wondering if the teachers are welcoming and truly prepare you. I would say I love this program. I started off in a different major, moved to this program, and the advisors are really good. They keep track of everything. You don't ever have to argue with them about what classes you want to take. They figure out what works for you. And then the teachers they've all been teachers before. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a single professor who's not been a teacher. And they are just modeling, they're people who are professionals in their field, and they model everything for you in class. And they really do their very best to prepare you, and they will tell you honestly the things that you're going to come up with against like angry parents and lawsuits because you didn't work on a students with special needs IEP properly. And they prepare you to face those things as well as design your lesson plans properly.
Yeah, and they work really hard to get students out in the community and volunteering in classrooms. I know,
right.
Like as a sophomore, I was volunteering in a special education classroom over the summer, and that was like such a huge experience. And then just this last semester, I was helping out in a high school science classroom, which was just really cool, and that was part of my class, and just really neat to have those opportunities.
I don't really have much of an idea about the education program, but we do have another question, so I think I can answer that pretty well. What is the cost of everything? Does UAF offer financial aid and scholarships? Financial aid, yes, and scholarships, yes. The deadline is due, is it tomorrow, the 15th? Saturday. Is the deadline for the scholarships and the financial aid. So if you haven't looked at that, get on your FAFSA and turn that in and just get it submitted. Do whatever it takes to get it submitted. Now you can go back and change any financial information that you need to after it's been processed initially. But once you've missed that deadline, you have missed it, and there's not really any going back on that. Also, there are a couple of scholarship questions that you can write about 400 words for a piece or less, and so those are pretty simple. Get those filled out and submit that, and then you're set up for the UA scholarships and the financial aid. Once you have that done, it can really get the ball moving on you coming to school here. That was basically how I ended up coming to school here. Was I thought UAF was interesting, and I figured I would try to stay ahead of the game and just apply and see how much financial aid I could get, how close I could actually come to moving from Atlanta to Alaska, which was just kind of a dream at the time. It was something that I told people I wanted to do, but I was 19 and had very little money, so how was I supposed to do something like that? well, if you stay on top of it, it really becomes possible. And the financial aid covers, if you have a full financial aid, the Pell Grant offers $5,500 per year, and then your first year, I believe you can get $1,000 a semester for your unsubsidized or for your subsidized loan, and then after your first year, that can be bumped up to $2,000 per semester. The rest of your student loans are in unsubsidized Stafford loans up to a certain point, and then beyond that, you have a student plus loan, which is kind of a last resort. Beyond that, still, UAF as an out-of-state student probably costs about, I would say, anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000 a semester. That's including room and board, and about 14 credits. That's probably about how much that would cost, anywhere between 12 to 16,000. If you take about 12 credits, then I would guess it would be $12,000 or $13,000 if you stayed in the dorms with no huge expenses. When you switch to in-state tuition, it gets cut down by about half in reality, so that's pretty great.
And there's always the WUI program, the Western Undergraduate Exchange, which is always worth looking into because that can save you a lot of money when you come up here. It is 150% of the in-state tuition, which is about $8,000 a semester. So that means you'll be up to about 10,000-ish, 10 to 12,000 per year. That's about 12,000 per year, and that can be a real big lifesaver if you're from any part of the western United States, as far as North Dakota or New Mexico. Also, be careful about books. Books can get pretty pricey, but if you're really smart about it and you look around and you shop around, you can get some pretty good prices, and that'll help out.
And it's good to put it in perspective too. Even for out-of-state students, UAF is a pretty cheap place to come to school. We have tons of scholarship opportunities, and there's also scholarship opportunities within a major as well. I know through the psych department, I've been able to get scholarships to travel and present research, as well as tuition scholarships. So there's a lot of opportunities, even once you get to the university and you're accepted and you're here, to keep on gathering support and gathering money. We have another question, and this one says, did you move far from home, and if so, was it hard to adjust? I actually am from Alaska. I moved up here from Anchorage, which is, in Alaska's sort of terms, not very far away, but in US or worldwide terms, it's pretty far away. It's 500 miles. And I would say it was kind of hard to adjust, even coming from not that far away. It's a really great place to adjust to, though, because everybody is so friendly and open, and just the community here on campus, as well as in Fairbanks, is so strong. A lot of people think when I go to college, oh my gosh, it's going to be so difficult. How am I going to make friends? How am I going to meet people? And I don't really feel like UAF is the kind of place where you feel alienated. It's kind of a place you come and you instantly feel included in this community. So I really loved it. It was mostly a shock because of the weather. It's a lot colder here than pretty much anywhere else in the state, and that was kind of difficult to adjust to at first. I had to go out and buy a better winter jacket, and you have to give yourself more time to get ready in the morning because you got to put on your thermal layers and then your regular clothes you want to wear for the day, and then your snow pants and your jacket on top of that sometimes. So I'd say that was the hardest part to adjust to, was just getting used to the cold, dry weather. But other than that, it's a great place to come to, because even and especially with international students, we love when international students come, and I feel like we're just so excited to meet people around here in general.
That's true. And like Ashley, I moved up from the Anchorage area, from Wasilla, and it's about the same distance. And I come from a place where all my family lives in the same neighborhood. I can't take a walk without saying hi to someone there. And so I gotta say, it was a little hard at first to be so far away from family, but at the same time, it was a bit more relaxing, and I was able to make some decisions that would have been about my life, like switching to become a teacher, without having any immediate um, opinions from others. So it was really kind of nice to be farther away from home and be able to kind of be an adult on my own. And yes, the weather was definitely a big shocker. But if you live on campus, it's actually pretty easy to adjust to because you can find like these little routes through buildings, and it warms you up just enough to go outside again and then get to the next building. Um, so definitely, there's ways around those little shockers.
I moved up from Atlanta, so I grew up in what I thought was normal suburban community, and my visions were shattered when I came to Fairbanks. No, it's been different. I grew up spending time snowboarding and skiing, some in like West Virginia, so I kind of knew what the cold was like. Um, but I wasn't. I knew that I had never seen anything like Fairbanks before. So I would say the best advice for coming to Fairbanks and dealing with the weather is just understand that it's going to be really cold and just, I mean, be mentally prepared more than anything and say, I just have to tough it out and it's going to be cold, but there's some things that really, really make it worth it. And the opportunities that UAF has given me are one huge benefit that I've gained, and then also being here in Alaska is amazing as well. We saw the aurora out the other night, and it was incredible. But as far as adjusting, it's pretty easy. If you come to UAF, it's like the easiest way to move into Fairbanks. I think. I know people that I say you should come up to Alaska, you do really well, and it's kind of hard for them because they weren't given the same chance to go. They don't want to jump into college, or they just want to move up here and get an apartment. Well, if you come in for college, you already have financial aid and you already have a job, which is to study, so that makes it a lot easier. We it's really nice to come up to Fairbanks and really have like a purpose and know what to do. So next question is, a lot of colleges are difficult to get into. Is UAF a picky school? I don't know exactly how to answer that precisely because I don't make any choices on that, but I would say if you study hard and make an effort in high school and just in work in general, then your acceptance is pretty likely. There's no way we can guarantee that as students. We can't say, yeah, you're going to get in. But if you show a lot of effort, we bring in a lot of students from all over the place, especially smaller towns, which makes it easier for us to be more accepting.
Mm-hmm. And the nice thing about the whole UA system is that you actually don't have to have a high school diploma to apply. You can have a GED because it does demonstrate your high school level of knowledge. And I know there's a lot of schools out there that won't accept just a GED, but UAF sees that GED as a demonstration of effort and knowledge, and that's a great opportunity to pursue your college career. You may want to have your SAT or ACT scores, so they are not required. They do have an AccuPlacer test here that you can take if you didn't have a chance to take it.
It's required for bachelor's.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but those are required for a bachelor's program. And then a minimum GPA from high school of 2.5.
Yep. So basically we want something or other to demonstrate that you've tried in high school or that you're trying currently. So the SAT or ACT is required if you're coming in for a bachelor's degree from high school, and then that GP of 2.5, which once again, I would say UAF is not a picky school compared to a lot of other schools because our requirements aren't necessarily low, but they do accommodate for a lot of different situations, and I don't know that a lot of other universities do that. So if you're really worried about it, the best way to figure out if you would be eligible is to talk to one of our admissions counselors one-on-one and just see where you're at. But really, I wouldn't say UAF's a picky school compared to a lot of schools in the lower 48.
Not the Air Force Academy.
It's not the Air
No.
Force Academy.
You do not need a senator's signature. Although it would be very cool if you did have the senator's signature.
It might
Yeah,
help.
that might just look really cool. We don't have any questions right now. If you have any questions, let us know. But one of the things we could talk about is ways to get involved on campus. There are tons of things you can do to get involved. I mentioned earlier that there's over 120 or 150 student clubs. And those are just like literally anything that you can think of is probably a club, or you can make it a club. And we also have something that I'm pretty involved with, which is the honors program. If you qualify, and even if you don't qualify for the honors program, you can still come and join lots of cool events that we do. This semester we're going to go to Denali National Park and go snowshoeing and do some volunteering. And we're hosting a lunch to award some of the teachers in our different departments, and we're going to go to the International Ice Art Championships, which is like the coolest event in Fairbanks for the entire year. People come from all over the world and they make these amazing, like, intricate ice carvings. And
some of them you can climb on top of.
Yeah, and they have ice slides and super cool things.
Like teacups that you get in and you can spin around. They're just made of like ice.
So those are just like some of the things that the honors program does. And then there's just lots of the other organizations that I had mentioned earlier, like the Live Office for leadership and service type stuff, student activities for doing lots of fun things. Residence life on campus hosts a lot of different activities, dances, that kind of thing throughout the semester too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's tons of things to do here, pretty much.
Right.
You will not be bored.
Okay, so we have another question. I would be moving from Florida. Are the people friendly? I would say that you wouldn't be able to walk to class without someone smiling at you. So I think that's a good definition of friendly right there. It's a really great place. I fell down today on the ice, and definitely somebody asked if I was okay. It's a great place. People, they really do care about you, whether they know you really well or not, and it's, again, really easy to get involved anywhere. So it's kind of it's a small town, it's a small campus, so we kind of are naturally predisposed to be nice to each other and be friendly.
Mm-hmm.
I think that goes for Alaska in general.
Yeah.
If you're moving from a different state, you come to Alaska, people are going to be genuinely more directly friendly to you. It's not just, kind of you're there. You're really, if you stop in a parking lot and talk to a guy on a bike, he's going to be really friendly. Like I've had, situations where I've just gone to the grocery store and ended up chatting with strangers that I didn't know, or things like that. I've been on flights across the state, and I've sat next to, last flight I had was Anchorage to Fairbanks, and I sat next to a lady from Nome, and she just was interested in what I had to say the whole time. There used to be, and I'm not sure if it still exists, the Good Samaritan law, which is if someone's car is broke down on the side of the road, you have to help and stop. You have to stop and help them, because realistically, conditions out here are so strenuous that you can't just, let people be, and Alaskans are check in on people regularly, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I actually have a really good story about this. There was a woman on campus, and this is like on one of the roads that leads up to campus where there's not a lot of traffic, and she was missing a tire. Like her tire had just fallen off her car, and she was sitting there, and my boyfriend and I drove up behind the car and we parked, because in Alaska you stop and you help if somebody's on the side of the road. Doesn't matter where they are, you stop and you ask if they need any help. And we get out, and this woman was actually from Georgia, and she gets out and she's like, I don't know what to do. I've never had anything like this happen to me. And she's just freaking out. She's in her rental car. And we immediately just, she had a spare tire. We put the spare tire on. We helped her out. And she was just like so amazed by the fact that we'd helped her. And she got our numbers just in case that there was something else that would happen to her car. And she ended up getting a hold of one of our friends and sending us both thank you letters, and we were just like, oh my gosh, like that was nothing. That's just what people in Fairbanks do. But I think she was sort of taken aback by how friendly we were and like willing to help. And that's just really how the campus is too. I feel like everybody gets sort of pulled into this community where we just sort of help each other. And it's really cold, so you kind of have to help each other a lot, and be there for other people. So we have another question, and this one says, are the classes at UAF large or overcrowded? And are you able to get hands-on help from your professors? Wow, there's like a ton of things I could say about that.
Short answer is yes or no.
No, they're not large.
Overcrowded, and yes.
They're not overcrowded. Oh my gosh, there's so many things I could say about this. Basically, no, we have really small class sizes, even for big 101 like general classes that you need for your core requirements. There are a few lecture hall classes that maybe will have like 50, 60 people, and that's kind of like the biggest classes you'll have here. And on top of that, I mentioned a little bit ago the honors program. If you did qualify for the honors program, and even if you don't, you can still take some honors classes. And those classes often have 10 people or less. And they're one-on-one instruction with some of the best professors on campus. It's an absolutely amazing opportunity. I've taken geology and biology labs where the rest of the class was maybe 20 people to one TA, and that's just a student teacher. And then the honors section of that same class wasn't really any harder, but we had 3 people and the professor was teaching us directly. And that's just one example of many of like how you can get even smaller classes. And additionally, like because we're such a small campus and we have such small class sizes, if you wanted to get involved with stuff outside of class, like undergrad research and stuff like that, it's so easy and available to do because you have so much more chance to have one-on-one time with professors. And I actually, after my freshman year, I went to visit a friend at Stanford, and I went to some of the classes there, and I was actually super unimpressed because they had these huge classes. And I was like, when do you get to talk to your professors? Like, do you get to have discussions with them about stuff you learn in class? And they're like, no, talk to professors? What? And I was just like, well, we do that at UAF. Like, that's a thing. And I think that that's just sort of an opportunity you're not going to get from picking a big school. If you pick a school like UAF, you're getting the same quality of education, but you're getting more of it, almost. So.
Yeah, in any of your classes, your professor is going to have office hours. They're going to be where they are going to be sitting in their office waiting patiently, sometimes impatiently, for their students to come and talk to them or ask them questions about the content. And if you have a TA, they also have office hours, so you also get to talk to the graduate students if you're uncomfortable talking to your professors. And they really do try here to make sure everybody has a good handle on what they're teaching. I've had classes as small as 8 people, and I've definitely had a couple of those lecture hall classes where there's quite a few people in there. But it never feels too terribly overwhelming. Eventually, your professor knows your name. And in a lecture hall, it can sometimes be a little weird when you're sitting there in the middle of the lecture hall and your professor's like, hey, you, Kaz, what's the answer to this thing? And you're just like, I'm sitting at the very top of this lecture hall. How do you know my name? So it's kind of, you don't ever feel like you're in a large class.
Yeah, I would say I don't have many large classes. In the engineering department, it's different. I can't speak for any other departments, but I know that in the engineering departments, it typically is pretty small. My smallest class is 7 people, I believe. That's a mine ventilation class, and that's actually a really big class size for that course. Like, it's typically 4 or 5 students. So, yeah, talk about one-on-one time. It's pretty serious. You know, we all for our Wednesday lectures, we all sit at the same table and go and have lecture. The entire class sits at one table, and the teacher works at the board, and yeah, that's how it is. And our department is going to have a pretty large graduating class next year. I believe there's going to be like a maximum of 9 of us, which is huge. That's enormous. So it's pretty exciting to see that, especially when you get into classes that are smaller and you get into your program. Typically, you become pretty tight knit with your program, which is really nice as well. To be part of that, where you don't feel lost among like a crowd of students that are, it's all just a race to learn the same thing. You're all working together to graduate, so it's pretty cool. How is crime in the area and on campus? You know, nearly unnoticeable except for some vandalism on occasion, which, you know, you're going to have anywhere. And don't leave your bike unlocked.
Yep.
Because it'll probably get stolen if you leave it unlocked. Learned that the hard way.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I left it outside overnight in front of a building that just happened to be on the route down to the bar across the street from campus. So, of course, someone wandered from the pub to the Marlin and found my bike unlocked, and, you know, probably rode off with it and put it in the woods. Who knows? So, that's like worst case scenario, I guess. Other than that, it's pretty good. You know, there's always gonna be stuff like locker room theft, and, you know, just take care of it. Other than that, it's pretty calm.
We have a on-campus police station with some really great people. They don't have a lot of police officers there, but the 2 people they do have are very involved on campus, and they definitely pay attention to everything. And then we also have community safety officers, and a lot of them are actually in the police academy here. We have a police law enforcement program, and they'll actually work with the police department as a community service officers, and they can go around, and if you're walking around on campus and it's dark out and maybe one of the lamps just went out and you're starting to get freaked out, you can jump into a warm building and call the community safety officers and say, hey, I don't feel safe, can I get an escort to my room? It's definitely not something we try to take advantage of too often and like wear them out, but they'll walk you to your dorm and make sure that you felt safe by the end of the night. And it's a really great service, and they definitely keep track of everything that happens on campus. You can go to the UAF Sunstar. If you go to the uaf.edu page, you can usually find our student newspaper, and there's our police blotter, which keeps track of what happens weekly, and you can kind of get a feel of what actually goes on campus, and that's pretty safe. It's, you know, pretty minimal.
Yeah, just to like put it into perspective too, like, it's super cold here, so we have to plug our cars in for people who own vehicles, and every single morning and evening I have to go warm the car up. So I'll start it, leave the keys in the car, go back inside the warm building for 25 minutes to half an hour, and my car's always there when I come back out. Like, I don't think there's many places in the world that you could just leave a car running with the keys in the ignition and walk away for half an hour and your car will still be there. But it's one of those things that you kind of have to do. Everybody kind of has to do it, and so it's just, you know, it's just what we do. And yeah, you don't want to leave your bike unlocked on campus, because bikes are a pretty big commodity around here.
Especially in summer.
Also,
yeah.
Take your keys out of your car when you leave your car. I've been guilty of that. Where are my keys? Where my ignition?
Yeah.
You start feeling
And
comfortable
I have been offered rides by CSOs before, walking home from like down the street from the university. They've just said, "Hey, do you need a ride to your dorm?" I said, "Sure."
Yeah, and they're all students, so they get to
Yeah.
know other student faces, and they'll if they see someone they recognize as a student, or if they see someone from their dorm, they'll say, hey, don't want a ride? It's pretty nice.
They're really, really friendly people, and because they're students, they get to know you really well, and they understand the things you're going through. Um, so they're usually a lot better people to run into than police you might find on other campuses. So we have another question, and it says, if I needed to get a job, could I find one in the area or on campus? And the answer is most definitely yes. You can absolutely find jobs on campus. I've been a research assistant up at our Center for Alaska Native Health Research for 3 years now. I get paid $13 an hour, and it's an amazing, amazing, amazing job. I can't even emphasize how cool that it is, the kind of work I get to do. I actually am working on a project out in a village in Alaska called Nulato, and it's about 500 miles away from here, and there's 250 people in the village. So aside from like just the jobs, you can get not only a job, but you can get a job that relates to what you want to do. If you're interested in research, there are tons of different research assistant positions, and there are tons of sort of like internship type positions through different departments. And then there are also just regular on-campus jobs. There's jobs through parking services, jobs through facility services, shoveling sidewalks. We love those students. They make our lives so much easier. And then there's jobs as RAs in residence life, and there's jobs working in our student union in the Wood Center on campus. The list goes on and on and on. It's pretty easy actually to find at least a small job on campus. And if you really need, or if you're looking for a job off campus, there are lots of jobs right around the area too.
Yes.
So.
I came to UAF needing to get a little extra money in addition to my financial aid, so I got a job right away. And I work in public relations at the Geophysical Institute at UAF, and I've been there for 4 years, going on 4.5 years now. And I never thought that I would get a job someplace outside of my degree. I used to work in daycares, and I found that it has taught me so much about adults, and that's my weakness as far as becoming a teacher, is working with adults. So this has been a really great experience, and for those basic office student positions, you have like 3 different tiers: so student C, student B, student A, with different levels of pay based on your tasks. And mine's really community service, not community service, but outreach related. And I talk to a lot of people on the phone, and I have to give a lot of answers, so I'm in a student C spot. And I've worked my way up from getting paid $9.50 an hour to about $12.75 now. While I've been here, so you get you get those pay raises, and it really
Cool.
starts to add up. And there's tons of opportunities on campus to learn so much, and they have to train you. And the best part is, if you're stressed out about finals, they have to let you study.
Yeah.
And my boss freaks out more than I do about finals. She sends me away. So it's a really great opportunity to get some hours, but not it doesn't weigh on your academics.
On-campus jobs, they'll work with your academic schedule too. At the start of every semester, you can just bring in your schedule and say, these are the hours I'm available to work, and they'll work with you, which is great about on-campus jobs.
So if you want to, even right now, regardless of who you are, what you do right now, you can go online and go to uakjobs.edu, I believe, .com, and you can look at all of the lists of student jobs and graduate jobs, and for the entire UA system. Specifically, you can look in Fairbanks, you can look in Anchorage, wherever you want, and just browse what you can do. I've personally worked as a student caller for the giving program, so I've called alumni for trying to raise funds, and I have done some other student work here and there, and it's all been really good. Everybody's been really helpful, and it's to work for the university. Like, it's pretty relaxed, and they definitely cater to you as far as your hours go and everything like that. Like, it becomes, hey, I have a lot of homework. I'm gonna call out, and they're not gonna hassle you as long as you don't abuse it.
Mhm.
So, then again, you also need to make a call whether you have time for a job or not. So, as far as outside of campus, I know students that have cleaned like horse stalls and stuff. There's like a ranch down the road that I have a friend that's worked there, and there's like nursing jobs and stuff like that
A couple
around.
different restaurants nearby that you
Yeah.
can waitress or waiter at.
Yeah, there's food services typically in pretty high demand.
Mhm.
Lots of little things here and there that are pretty easy positions to fill and to find. So it works out pretty well.
So we have another question. If I live out of state, what month would I be able to move to campus? And I believe if you're planning on living in the dorms, they open the last Saturday of August. So you're not going to want to be here too much earlier than that. So they'll open up. They open up bright and early on a Saturday.
I think it's
A Sunday. It's a Sunday,
Yeah.
and the Sunday before school starts. And it's really great if you live in the dorms. They help you move in that day, and they
Woo.
do a big old orientation, and they get you settled in and ready for school. If you're living off campus and you found a place, that's awesome. And I would suggest moving in maybe a couple weeks before to get settled in.
A week or two is pretty much all you need. But keep in mind that the summer in Alaska, what you're coming in on is the end of the best part of the year. So if you really want to enjoy Alaska and stuff like that, I would recommend coming a little bit earlier. Potentially if you have a job. Now if you don't have anything to do, trying to figure out what you're doing for 3 or 4 weeks is pretty tough, because you're just kind of left, unemployed in a place that you don't know many people.
Yeah.
And there's also oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
There's also an OA trip that is every August right before school starts. So if you were coming up here as a new freshman and you wanted to see some of Alaska and enjoy some of the summer before school started, you could come a little bit early. I think it's about a week, and then they usually do a backpacking trip somewhere. And OA is Outdoor Adventures, and that's you pay, I think, for that trip it's probably a few $100s, but they provide everything. They provide all the equipment you need, all the food that you need, absolutely everything you could need for that week-long trip. And it's really cool. It's an awesome opportunity, especially if you're coming from out of state, to get to see some of Alaska before you get into school. And then another question we just got was, how are the summers in AK? The summers in AK are unbelievable, especially in Fairbanks. It gets to -40 here in the winter, and it gets to about 90 to 95 degrees here in the summer. Last summer was so hot.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know how I survived, to be honest. It was 90 degrees is hot here. And it's a really dry heat in Fairbanks, which is super nice. You can still get out and do things, especially when there's a breeze. And so you don't want to just pack your coats and boots and stuff. Make sure, if you're coming to Fairbanks, you bring some shorts, not only because you can go to the gym on campus, but you can also enjoy the summer here, enjoy the warm weather. And we definitely have a lot of it in the summer. And in the summer, I feel like Fairbanks turns into this really odd mix of redneck and hippie culture, all the best parts of both.
Weird.
No, it's fantastic.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
We're
It's
social
not like
butterflies all of a
anything
sudden.
you've
Social butterflies.
It's amazing because I went to these festivals
seen.
this
Everyone comes
summer.
out of the bushes.
I went to these festivals this summer, and I got my hair shaved off. Like, I ran around in skirts and bare feet the entire summer. I love it. It's amazing.
And
If that's
you
not
can-
really your thing, there's other things to
Yeah.
do too. But I'm
It's
just
really
saying.
nice because also we have a lot of like just natural wildlife, and you can like pull aside on the road and just start picking blueberries and cranberries, and they're not like what you get at the store. These are not. These have no preservatives and no artificial things in them. They are like tart blueberries, like they ought to be, and they're really good. And there's definitely a lot of events. There's a great we have this Golden Days event in the summer, and we do a parade. We do a big old fair in downtown, which I guess downtown to some people is actually kind of small, but for us it's big. And it's really cool. We a lot of people get together. You don't know how many people live in Fairbanks until you see the parade and see the fairs.
So true.
And we do the red green regatta, and you have to build like a boat out of the primary. The primary ingredient has to be duct tape, and you can't have anything to row or paddle. It just has to
Sticks.
float. So then you put it in the
Sticks.
Chena River, and you have to see who gets to the bottom first. And that's kind of like the theme of most of our events. Like you kind of just get together, you start at one end of the river, and you see who gets to the bottom first. That's most of our events here in Fairbanks. It's pretty fun.
How are the summers in Alaska? I work all summer, like typically pretty straight. So I've had the good fortune of working as a painter here on campus, and then the other 2 summers I have worked in the Arctic Circle, fly in, fly out for an exploration, a geological exploration project in Brooks Range, which was magical because you can't, except for the mosquitoes, which are terrifying.
The
In
mosquitoes are
reality,
bad.
are like actually really scary
About this way.
sometimes. Don't run away from them because then when you look back, you'll realize how many there are chasing you.
Also,
And
it
they'll
makes
just
you
run
expel so much
faster.
more carbon dioxide, and that's what attracts them.
Yeah.
Don't eat bananas.
Well, among other than that, how is summer? It's amazing, like because it's just the best part of the year, and if you're here for it, then that's the good thing about living in Alaska is a lot of people want to see Alaska, but they don't really experience it because you come in for 2 weeks and then you're gone. Whereas if you live in Fairbanks, we saw the aurora last Friday, and it was amazing. I mean, it was literally a mind-blowing experience. It was closer than I've ever seen. You could hear it. I mean, like, really hear the aurora, which is, that's pretty amazing. And then in the summer, sometimes it's not great weather, but then when it's good weather, you get to see some really amazing things. Like, I've driven the Parks Highway a lot, and during the summer, some of the days it's just cloudy, and some of the days when it's clear, you can see Mount McKinley, pretty clear, and would probably make a lot of your friends jealous. I'm not gonna lie.
So our next question is kind of sort of similar. It's what tips do you have for an incoming freshman from California? And I think that sort of extends to like any warm place if you come from a warm climate to this climate. It's cold here. We won't deceive you. It really does get to right now I think it's minus 12 or minus 20.
Yeah.
I don't even know. It's been really cold recently though.
It's sunny out, so that's the high for the day.
Yeah. Except for like, there's a few things. Like, first of all, you have to dress warmly, and there's a way to do that correctly, and there's kind of a lot of ways to do that wrong. Like, for sure, you want to wear lots of light, thin layers, and lots of like thermal layers and moisture wicking layers. The climate's really dry here, so you want to make sure you have lots of lotion and you keep putting it on all the time, and you're not using stuff that would dry out your skin, because before you know it, you'll get really chapped lips and really dry skin. And it's also really dark here, and in the wintertime, we have on average maybe 2 or 3 hours of daylight to 4 hours of daylight, and this isn't even like real daylight. This is like the sun is skimming the horizon. And it's absolutely beautiful when the sun is up during the day, and
you're usually in class.
Usually in class. So for the most part, like probably from November to March, you're not seeing a lot of sun, so you should prepare for that. Take extra vitamin D, and you can also get those happy lights. and those are really good. They fit in your dorm room really nice. They help out a lot. And just anything you can do to keep yourself involved on campus is awesome. You don't want to just have tons of downtime because I think that's when the cold and the dark starts to get to people.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure your ears are covered when you're outside. That's a big thing, especially if you have piercings in your ears. You know, don't chance getting frostbite in your ears because it's just one of those little things like around your piercing that you might not think about. Something one of my coworkers learned the hard way. And I wear a scarf all winter because the air can get really cold and really hurt my lungs, so I just breathe through it like this, and it just really helps me get from point A to point B. Definitely. Gloves, definitely wear gloves. Metal can get really painful if you touch it when it's so cold out.
Yeah, tips for incoming freshmen from warm places. I would say if you're planning on living on campus, then it's kind of a whole different thing. If you live here and you're living on campus, it's really not that hard to dress for the cold. Wear thick socks.
Yeah.
Wear, basically stay in long johns. Just leave them on. Sleep in them.
I'm wearing spandex right
It's
now.
it's
under my
easy. And
pants
then
today,
and then long johns. I live in a cabin off campus. I don't have extra socks on. I have one pair of socks on. I have sneakers on. I have long johns and jeans. I have this T-shirt, a fleece, and a jacket to go on top of that. The only thing I would change about what I wear right now would be have warmer gloves. Now, if you're going to be outside being active, thermal layers are really, really important. That's key. If you work outside and stuff like that, then you're going to want to layer up. But if you're on campus running from building to building, you don't really need to worry about it too much because you can come inside and take your jackets off and hang out in a t-shirt. It's not a big deal. Because if you wear 4 layers to get to class, you're going to be taking 3 layers off, probably.
Yeah.
And God forbid you wear too many pants to class.
That gets awkward.
That gets weird.
Although it's completely normal if you have to drop a layer of pants
Yeah,
in class.
that's
I've
true.
seen it
If
happen.
you live
before.
off campus, though, you can also get a locker in our wood center, which is kind of like the main hub of campus, where it's like a student community center, and you can get a locker there if you're living off campus and drop all your stuff off there, where it's not so awkward.
So bring lotion because it's probably going to be more dry than you expect.
Definitely.
That's a big one. I think like we forget that all the time too.
Yeah. Good lotion.
What else?
We have some new questions.
That's pretty much it.
Is everything in the area affordable and on campus? I'll say this is I would say everything in the area is affordable, but I'll also provide a bit of a disclaimer. You're gonna find that a lot of things in Alaska might be pricier than you're used to, like produce. Produce is a lot more expensive here, and it's just because of the travel costs to get it up here. So expect that, but other than that initial increase because of the travel cost, it's actually pretty affordable, and you can get to the grocery store on our city bus, which if you have a student ID, you can ride for free, Monday through Saturday. So everything's pretty available and accessible and affordable for students.
I'd say as far as like commodities go, like, buying a toothbrush and buying bread and stuff like that, you're gonna have a price bump, like a small price bump. Nothing's gonna be too outrageous. You're not in like Barrow where milk is $8 a gallon. You're not gonna see that here. Things might be a little bit more expensive through the grocery store, but where you're gonna see things being more expensive is probably gonna be rent. If you live off campus and you aren't willing to stay in a dry cabin, things get a little bit more expensive. I know I have a lot of friends that go to like UGA back in Atlanta or in Athens, Georgia, and you can get an apartment there for a single person for about $550 a month, utilities included, with electricity and internet and cable. Here, you're probably going to be paying, if you want a single person apartment, like a 1-room apartment, you're probably going to be paying $750, something like that, with utilities included sometimes. So there's probably going to be about like a $200 price jump, but then you can counteract that by finding roommates and stuff like that. If you can, I live in a cabin, and it costs $550 as a flat rate, including electricity and heating, and then we have to haul in water, but it's $550 a month, and there are three of us that split that. Given that's not a very typical living arrangement, it's pretty affordable, so you can make things happen.
Right. And I've done a 2-person cabin in the summer for about $375 with a roommate. And you know, when you go from living in a dorm room with your roommate to living in a cabin, it's actually a little bit spacier.
Yeah.
And when you're paying $150 each for your cabin plus electric, you know, it gets to be a really nice experience. So there's a lot to be said for the cabins.
Yeah, I think we've all lived in a dry cabin here in Fairbanks. I'm currently living in a dry cabin, just so everybody's on the same page, is you don't have running water, which means A, you have to deal with hauling your water, B, you have to use an outhouse in the winter.
Dishes
Dishes are the worst.
Dishes are the worst.
They're so tough when you live in a dry cabin.
You have to remember to check the bucket that your dishwater drains into and make sure you dump it out before you overfill it, because nobody wants to haul out a very overfull bucket.
Yeah, that's just no fun.
No fun.
But
Thanksgiving in a cabin.
You get creative when it comes to water use.
Yeah.
You
really
do, and you get more conservative with what you do use, which is good. But like if you live on campus, everything is pretty affordable. You will want to try and go to Fred Meyer, which is it's the grocery store right down the street. You can sometimes walk there if you're brave, or you can take the bus. No big deal. And of course you can buy things on campus too, like basic commodities if you have any kind of like an emergency, although they are a little bit more expensive to buy them on campus.
You have one last question.
Yeah.
And it is, do the dorms have internet and cable? Yes. Bring an internet
Both.
cord.
Bring your own internet cords.
Yeah, and cable cords. Yeah.
And cable cord.
There's Wi-Fi through everywhere, but the LAN connection is pretty solid. So if you want to have a setup in your dorm, it's pretty easy. And the hardest part about that is running the cable and not having to know your roommate.
Yeah, bring a short one and a long one just in case, because it's really easy to get settled in and then be like, I don't like the way the furniture is, and then you move your desk all the way to the other side of the room, but the cable and outlet doesn't move with you, so bring a really long cord.
Oh yeah.
This says apply for scholarships, because if you can't see that, do it, because you have 2 days left, and that's it. And
Just
it's
2 days.
it's really easy.
There are some scholarships just for out-of-state students. There's some for just freshmen. Take advantage of that.
Don't videotape this, because you can do your FAFSA and just put in numbers. Just put in numbers and fix them later. That's my real advice, is that.
Because you can't wait for everybody to give you your forms.
My parents don't get their taxes done for forever, so it's terrible. So I wait until July until I have the real information. My parents own a business, so it's kind of it's complicated. So just get it in. When you
There's
get
an option
the email,
to say, we'll file later.
Yeah, we'll file later. Just talk through it with your parents, get it done, and then you're good.
And if you want to come to UAF, you have more questions that we didn't answer, you can always find us on Zopim Live Chat, which is through a link on the UAF admissions page. And one of these people here or another student ambassador would love to answer more of your questions if
And
you
if
have
you have a major you're specifically interested in, you can go to the student ambassador profiles and find someone in that program and email them directly.
Or you can just email any of us directly if you want to ask any of us questions.
Yep.
That'd be cool. We'd love to hear from you. That's actually a really exciting thing. So yeah, that's
Thanks for
our
asking
hour, I guess.
questions.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Being interactive. Bye.